Do you think that every person experiences burnout in some way or another?
Well, I mean that's kind of the other question of like is it burnout, is it boredom, is it depression, is it frustration? Like I think there's differences. I think burnout is like the top. Like burnout is
Right.
like okay, if you hit burnout, you have to make a change. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Pickles and Pasta with
Steph?
and Jay. Um, this week we are going to talk about burnout. Um, Something that we have talked about amongst ourselves, and we've experienced it, and we've had friends of ours that have experienced it. I think most people hear about it from like a celebrity level or different people, but I think the reality is most of us experience it in one level or another. And so, yeah, I think we want to kind of just dig into that a little bit and kind of give our take on it. So, um, Steph, I know you've mentioned it like over time, like how you're feeling, and I don't know if you had like a story or some specific instance anything you can think of that like where you say, oh yeah, that's when I had a burnout or something like that.
Well, I was thinking about this quite a lot recently, and I was trying to come up with what would be my burnout story. And at first, I was like, there must be some big dramatic thing. Often I think about the time when we were moving the operation from the house that we currently live in to a fulfillment center and what that looked like. It was literally a month of, no joke, working from the time we woke up and physically working
Yeah.
till 10 o'clock at night for at least a month straight. And so, like, that really came to mind. But then when I was really, really thinking about that story, because how exciting is that? Like, we've all been through phases where, we've had to really work hard for a short period of time. And so I don't think that's enough. And as I was thinking about it, I really have to say that my true burnout story has has been longer. It
Okay.
really has been more like a 5-year slow burn from when I started Have Some Fun Today back in 2014, and how exciting that was, like building the brand, building the momentum. People around me were excited. I had like a team of people who were just excited to contribute, write articles, wear the brand. And then I think after something sometimes gets going, it can lose some momentum. And I think for me, that's when it started to feel like a drain, a drain on my energy. And I think that's when it started to be more about, inventory and margins and what's selling and production and paying for the production. And, when you have like a brand like Have Some Fun Today, you're not just going to like quit. Like people are relying on you. It becomes part of your identity in a way. And when you start to really feel the burnout, you're really feeling like a drain every day, drain on your energy. And, really, and then I think the thing that really happens is it's not that you're overworked, you're just like misaligned. And I think that that was really my burnout. It was slowly recognizing that I was no longer aligned with who I had become over the past decade. And that was something that, was just like this dull misalignment until I really realized that I had to make some really tough choices.
Right. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I burnout's a little bit different, I guess, for me.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm thinking about like different things I've done and different, businesses or just all that kind of stuff. And for me, burnout is more of like, you're going so hard, you're going so strong, and then you're just like, it's almost like you hit a wall in some capacity. Like you just like, I can't do this right now. Like, but I have no choice. But I can't do this. Like, and I can't let anybody know that I can't do it. When you're like, when I get it, it's different. Like, we're talking from the perspective of owning our own businesses. Our name is on the line. It's very different. Like if you work for a company and you burn out, there's maybe other teammates. It's just a different sort of scenario. Your burnout is probably a little different. And I think for a lot of people, I hear that they're like, oh, I'm really burnt out. I'm going to take a vacation. And they take a vacation and they're gone. It's a week or 2 weeks and they're refreshed. And so their burnout is kind of like a different sort of thing. I think for us, it's like we're living it like 24/7. Like we are. I mean, we do our best to go to bed at night and kind of clear our minds. But, we wake up and like we were dreaming about this idea that we had, or there's this project we want to work on, or this thing we didn't get on. So it's stuff. It really is a 24/7, even though you are, sleeping, hopefully, and doing other things. And like for me, when I've had different little like mini burnouts, I guess, but
Yeah. Hmm.
like a real, for me, a big one was, when I had different tennis businesses. I mean, the racket service and the concierge service and all that. And I was being pulled in so many different directions and I just couldn't do it anymore. Like I really just couldn't do it. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to do it. I just had no
Hmm.
energy left to give. And it ultimately led me to like having to like move on and having to, pass the business on to the guy who I, made a partner who has since incredibly discovered the entire business all by himself without me ever being part of it. So God bless him for that. But the internet's a funny thing. There's still a lot of pictures, and someone sent me a picture of my original bag that we had, which was like a little drawing, which was kind of hilarious. But anyway, that was what burnout was for me. It was just like I literally didn't have the strength to do it anymore. I just couldn't do it, and it was yeah, it wasn't fun. It really wasn't fun.
Do you
But
think, I was just going to ask you a question. Do you think that every person experiences burnout in some way or another?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the other question of like, is it burnout? Is it boredom? Is it depression? Is it frustration? Like, I think there's differences. I think burnout is like the top. Like burnout is
Right.
like, okay, if you hit burnout, you have to make a change. Something has to change. Um, Either you have to like close the business or sell the business or move on, or the job you're in is like you can't do it anymore. Like you have to do a different type of job if it's just like a job situation. You know, that's burnout to me. Burnout is like that's it. Like I'm burnt. Like literally, like the candle's burnt. Like that's it. You can't relight that burnt candle. It's that sort of a
Right.
signal. I
Yeah.
think that's different than you're drained or you're just tired because you've been like like the. I mean, look, that getting ready for that move as an example. I mean, that was painful. Like there were boxes everywhere. Like we were stacking boxes. Like there's no, we can't stack it too high. We can't stack it too low. That's too big a box. That's too small a box. Like make sure we put them in order. Like that was just a grind of a grind. And it was just, I mean, it wasn't much different when we prepared for QVC. I mean, I didn't totally know what I was walking myself into, but boy, was that
Sorry.
yeah. Yeah, babe, maybe come here for like a week or so and help me with this project, and that would be great. And I was like, I'm coming to be with you, and I wouldn't matter to me if we were going digging ditches. But man, oh man, was that a workout. But that was like after that, it wasn't burnout. It was just like, okay, I'm exhausted and I need a break. But it wasn't like, I don't know. I think burnout is like maybe when your brain doesn't function anymore in a way, right? Like where I don't have another new idea. I don't have another way to sell this or to do this. Like I think to me that's more the burnout. the frustration, the boredom. Sometimes it's boring. Like sometimes you're doing something. I mean, there's times now with all the different stuff we have going on that I'm like, oh, just give me a minute. Like I just give me a minute, like to not have to think about these 3, 4, 7 things that are going on. That I think is different than burnout. Like I still have the drive to do all the things that we have to do, whether it's effluence or village or activism stuff, or whether it's your art or I mean the new division of your art, like, or have some fun. So like I'm not burnt out on that. Like I'm always still, but there's days that I'm like, yeah, just not right now. Like I think that's different. I think that for me, I think that's different.
Well, I mean, back to have some fun today, because that's the best example of something I've done the longest and I'm still doing, and have put the most of myself into, because that was like a personal passion project. That was
Sure.
like taking something that my dad said and turning that into a brand, which is a huge endeavor.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the burnout, because I do believe I got burnt out
Yeah. You
from
did.
how that began to where it is today, because the world is different. I am different. I have grown and evolved, and where I am today, I'm not going to make a graphic t-shirt and get all excited about it now. But back then, that was exciting to me and to other
Right.
people. And so as we evolve as people, the thing that we were doing is just sometimes just different than who we are. And I'm not going to get excited to go do a photo shoot with certain things that I once was very excited to do. So if that's what someone keeps on pushing you to do that, no, the answer is no. And there's a big block up on that. So I think for people, how do you evolve past that, and how do you heal it and move beyond it? And I think it takes a lot of determination and honesty with yourself about what is important to me and what is going to give me energy again, because when you're burnt out, you're lacking energy, and you're lacking energy from like an internal source, that is that source that drives creative people to create. And so for me, I had to and it took time. It took literally years for me to find that answer. And that period, sometimes it can be short or it can be long. For me, it was longer because I felt like I had a lot of people depending on me doing that. And so it was a little bit of a harder decision. If you're working for somebody else and you experience creative burnout, it's a shorter path because you're not the source. You're the person who is, contributing, but you're not the source of a creative project.
Yeah. Did you feel like it didn't just happen one day to the next, right? Did you feel it, like
No.
feel it? Did you feel like you were having a harder time? Were you more
Yes.
anxious? Were you getting more pissed? Like what, like were there signs where you're like, I seem to be getting more pissed off, or like I can't come up with a new idea as quickly as I used to? Like, are there different signs that kind of led you to like, okay, finally get to the point like, okay, shit, I think I'm burnt out.
Because we were working with so many different marketing teams, like we went through several different teams just in the 6 years that you've been around. And it became frustrating. There was a lack of interest, like genuine interest on my on my side of it. But I was the one that, had to kind of find a way to navigate how I market this. And I think that lack of spark of interest, I was trying to manufacture that, but it was really difficult. And I think, now that I have decided I need to be making art, and I need to focus my energy around making art, because that is coming from my source. And when you're working from your source, it just feels more aligned. And now I'm in a building process again, and I'm excited about it though, you know?
Do you think though there's a part of it that like when you just do something long enough, it just gets boring and then you kind of burn out because you've kind of done it? Like like you were already feeling from what you were saying, and I know this already, you were already having like some frustrations leading up to some of these changes we tried. Like we experimented with different things, like you said, different marketing agencies. We, changed the way we did shipping. We did a lot of different things. And you were already frustrated because you were like, I don't understand why this brand is not doing the things it should be doing. Everybody tells us it's amazing and they love it. Like, why isn't it clicking, on a grander scale? It was clicking, but like, why can't we move to that next level? And we went with one agency that we were recommended, and then that didn't work, and because they didn't really get us. And then, like, do you think you were a little frustrated already going into that? And this was kind of like, because I think that happens too, is that people are like, they're actually burnt out, and what they're supposed to do then is take a real pause. They just kind of push through because that's what they tell you, right? And you're certainly told that, like you were raised that way, right? Like, tough it up. Like you're sick, okay, we'll get back to work.
Yeah.
That's sort of you were raised that way, which is not a bad thing, but like in this situation, sometimes maybe that prolongs things. Maybe that makes things a little bit worse. Sometimes it's better to like cut earlier to realize the burnout. That's what this is. I don't know. Do you think that played into anything?
Yes. I mean, I'm sure it did. I think that, here's the thing. I think there's also outside events that happen while people are doing things. Like we experienced COVID, and that really, I think COVID was one of the major things that happened that affected the brand. First of all, it affected our QVC debut. We were going to go on QVC, and literally the
You
day
were gonna, yeah,
before
you were going to
I
be
was
on
going to go on
QVC. I was
QVC,
going
the
to be in the
day
car.
before, I mean, so all this preparation, and it was like a year of intense work. The day before, I get the phone call, they're closing their studios.
Yeah,
So
I
so
remember.
that was a big blow to the momentum. And
I
I
mean, you
think
got you
right
got
before,
on. At least they got you on, but it was like on a
it was a
was it
phone call.
Skype. It
It
was like
was
Skype or something, or a phone call or
Yeah,
something.
it was a phone call. It was just ridiculous. So, there are things that happen, and that's part of life, right? Um, so I just think like with this legacy brand, experienced the burnout and I didn't know how to navigate it. And here we are today.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's no question you are noticeably more invigorated now than you were, let's say, I don't know, let's call it 9 months or so ago, 12 months ago. We were kind of thinking about things, and you were getting, understandably. I mean, I think you did something for a long time, a lot of different things. I mean, COVID certainly happened, but there's a lot of things that happened. The economy just changed, political stuff, environment stuff. Like, there's just a lot of things have been happening in the past number of years. You compound that with already years of working on something. Yeah, it gets draining. It's like, why am I doing this? Like,
Yeah.
is this leading? Is this leading to the goals or the happiness, whatever that goal is, right? Like sometimes the goal is money, like people just doing something because they want to make a lot of money. That's fine. Some do is like, look, it's not about the money, but I want to be doing something that I really love doing every day. I'm okay if I make this amount of money, not that amount of money, but I've got to be having joy. I've got to be having an impact or doing something, or whatever. And you were just kind of you were kind of thrown into like all these different things. And I know, I mean, I'm with you, obviously I can feel it. Um, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. But again, like you said, I have all this inventory, I have all this stuff, I have this responsibility, I have to do it. It's an interesting thing. I mean, what is there anything like as we've gone through this stuff together, were there certain things that sparked or like actions that you took like that maybe would be helpful for people to learn from? Like,
Yeah.
well, like
I
this, I did that thing, and then like that. I think that would be kind of interesting for
yeah,
people.
no, I think that there are definitely things that people can do in order to deal with burnout. And if it's like your own business, for example, I think what was helpful to me was to kind of get into a little bit of a spiritual practice because at the end of the day, the goal in life is to feel good in general and to be able to survive, obviously, with a level of comfort in your life. And so I think that it's really helpful if you can really know yourself and know the kind of life that you really want to have, and then take steps to pivot or to start to align yourself with activities that bring you to that place. And so I looked to see how I could earn, a living doing the creative things that I do with Have Some Fun Today with my art, and to really navigate taking steps towards those things. Today, a year after really coming to terms with how I wanted to navigate not doing certain things with Have Some Fun Today, like we're not making new bags. We decided that a year ago. And so in the course of that time, I looked at, okay, what can I do that'll make up for this loss of income if I pivot here? And I'm teaching art workshops. I'm investing more in my art career. I'm selling more art. And so like that was my way of navigating burnout.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I know we talked a long time ago about, you know, you being an artist, which you're obviously a very talented artist, and you being a designer and you're a very talented designer. And how do we bring those, how do we bring those together? It took a long time, like of various discussions and experimenting and stuff like that. And I think you kind of came to that realization, like I can be happy with Have Some Fun Today if there's more than just this like designing, making a product, selling a product, like boom, boom, like very, it kind of felt all just so regimented. Like it's just, it didn't feel you. Like in the beginning, it felt you because it was fun and it was exciting and everything else. But after a while, it just became like, oh, I got to do new bags again. Like, oh, it's time to do new bags again, as opposed to like, this is exciting. I've come up with this new thing. And now with the art, you have so much more freedom to paint a different way, a different style, use different colors, use different sizes, different mediums. Like I think that kind of reinvigorated you. But I think what's interesting specifically with you is that you didn't, there's certain people like they burn out and they change careers. Like they just go into something totally different. Like, and you were able to kind of figure out a way to balance it together, which I think is very interesting and unique.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean because when I founded Have Some Fun Today, it was from this creative vision place. That's where I sit. And I think the more Have Some Fun Today got developed, the further I moved away from that creative visionary. And then I had to be a marketer, I had to be a photographer, I had to be a performer, I had to be a salesperson, a sales rep, a CEO. I had to wear, I had to figure out how to do my books, which I never figured out how to do that great. So you have to I had to teach myself so many roles that I didn't know how to do and I wasn't really aligned with doing. And so now I pulled back from all of that and now I'm back in the place where I am aligned. And I do think that there is something about burnout which happens I think very often when you are misaligned.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's key. And it's interesting like how do you spot that? Right? Like when you're doing something and you have your business and then an opportunity comes up, you have a business, right? So you're trying to move it forward. So it could be, you know, I mean, we looked at so many different things like, you had like a wholesale type business and you had sales reps. So there was like, okay, we want to be in resorts. Like that makes sense for like, okay, so that's a business. That's a separate business than making product that you sell online directly to consumer where there's no storefront like that's which is e-com, which is very popular, of course, and it made sense and that's what you did. But then there's also pop-ups, which is a whole other business. Like they're all connected, right? Like it's all logically connected. And when you have a big machine, then you can have people running the different pieces. It's dandy, right? Like
Yes.
it's a lovely little thing. But when you're like, okay, let me put this hat on, okay, let me put this hat on, okay, let me put this hat on, like it's not so easy. And how you talk to a sales rep, how you pitch to a resort, and oh, we love your brand, but does it have to say have some fun today on it? You're like, well, I don't know. What do you think? So and we ran into that. Like we ran all
Yeah.
sorts of that stuff. But you're like, but I need to make the sale. $5,000 or
Yeah,
$3,000, whatever it is. Like I gotta make the sale. And now you end up doing these things and you go, well, if I got one, well, maybe I can get three. But like now you're just going so far off course to what the core of who you
exactly.
are is. And look, it's the same for us. People ask us like, well, what's your target customer? Like, what type of customer has like? I was like, well, basically anybody that can pay us and will get us arrested. Like that's the range. So I'm pretty simple. So I mean, that being said, there's certain brands or there's certain companies or certain industries that just probably don't fit with what we do. Like it's we can do it, but maybe it doesn't make the most sense. Like there has to be some sort of core connection to like who we are, like who F1 is as a company, that it makes sense that we would do their website or their video or their events, like, or do a marketing or PR campaign. Like it makes sense. Like you can get the connection, you get like why they would hire us and why we would work with them. And but sometimes it's not only the type of business, like for you, wholesale or direct to consumer, or for us, it's not necessarily the industry, but it could be the ethos of the brand, right? So like if the company isn't genuine, or if they're not caring, or if they're not good to their people or their industry, that's not an alignment for us, right? But if someone has like a big job and it's good money and everybody can make money and get paid, which everybody wants to get paid, you run into these issues and you take the client and now you're misaligned.
Yes.
You're driven by the money or you're driven by the work, but you're not driven by who your core is. And I think that's a very, very tricky thing. But I think misalignment is probably one of the first things that leads you to burnout.
Yeah,
Probably.
I agree.
Now
Yeah.
you're like not happy with what you're doing. You're doing it and you're happy about the money and you're happy about that there's work. But in your heart of hearts, you're not like, I'm excited about this. Like this is, and when I say excited, like, look, there's a lot of work that goes into every business that's not exciting, right? It's not sexy, but it doesn't mean it doesn't feel good.
Right.
There's things that we do that it still feels good. Like cleaning the house isn't fun. I mean, I know some people love it, but cleaning the house is not fun. But there's is something fun or good. It's a good feeling when when the room you clean or your desk is clean. Like it feels good. So there's something to it. But sometimes when it doesn't have that other extra thing, I think that's one of the things that starts that process of burnout. Like I think it starts to lead you down that road.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then, multiply that. Let's say another opportunity comes because, with my business, with your business, it can go in so many directions. I could be bending over backwards for some store in Florida who wants, have some fun today logo on their stuff, and they're just a pain in the neck. And then you do it, and then they're mad that it's not selling fast enough. And then at the same time, you're being asked to do this show in Miami that's this new show, and you put all this money and you do that, and it's a freaking flop. Nobody comes. It's totally not what they said. And
It
then
sounds
that
like it's a
happens.
Florida problem. I think it's a Florida problem. No, I'm
No,
kidding.
but
I'm kidding.
I
I'm
mean,
kidding. We
like,
love
and then
Florida.
there's like a rep in Boston who loves the bag, but does it have to say have some fun today on it? And so I think when you're dealing with all these different things, or you have these Amazon rep, marketing people who are like, oh, work with us and you'll be selling $50,000 a month. And then that doesn't happen and you're paying them all this money. So it can go south really quickly and you can get misaligned so quickly. And after a couple of years of being battered around, you can be really burnt out.
So it feels like I mean the key first is like to see that, right? Like to because
Yeah.
it's hard when you're in it to see it.
Hmm.
I think the key, I mean, I think this is where I mean one of the bajillion reasons why we work that we can see that, right? Like I can see when you're not right. I can see when I can feel it before I see it. And I can then talk to you about it. And I can be there for you to be like, this is what I'm seeing. You may not agree with me right away, or you may because you're in the thick of it, but you'll listen to me and I'll listen to you when you're like, well, are you sure that's where you want? You're spending a lot of time on this. Are you sure is that leading you someplace? And sometimes I'll be like, I know it is. It's just you can't see it yet, but I know it is. And sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm not. But we have that, so it's very helpful. But I think taking the step back, if you can, I mean, this would be my advice. Like when things are just feeling like a little, like you gotta take the step back. And sometimes you have to take, a step back to take two steps forward. Like you have to do that. And I know you're not a football fan, but like you see it in football, and I've seen it a bunch of times this past year. I don't know, just the different games that I caught, where like a running back gets the ball and you could see what he's supposed to do, and he literally just stops. Like just stops. Like there's all these guys around trying to kill him, and he literally just stands there and he waits for it to unfold, and then he takes off and he can go 10 or 20 yards or he can get a touchdown. Like it's that. Like those guys that can do that, I mean, it's incredible. Incredible. Like what an
it's that mini pause.
It's that mini pause. For
Yeah.
them to do that in the field of play with 80,000 people in the stadium and people screaming and these guys twice their size trying to kill them is incredible. They can do that. But just as business people, we don't have to worry about someone trying to tackle us every day. Maybe not literally, but there's something about having to take that pause, but in a conscious way. It's
Yes,
just like just take a
yeah.
break. Okay, I'm going to take a step back. Let me really look at where this can go. I know my business well enough to know this is probably not. I'm gonna. You know what? That was a nice contract. I'm gonna pull out. I'm not. Not to hurt anybody, not to do anything wrong or screw
Right.
anybody off. Like, okay, I'm gonna complete this one, but this other one that we were about to go for, we're not gonna go for that one. We're gonna put the brakes here. We're gonna do however we do. Like, we're gonna make a recommendation. We're not for you. We're going to recommend this is whatever. There's something to be said for that. Like as far as like,
it's a little bit of wisdom. It's having a little bit of wisdom. Like I'm thinking about it now when I was working as an interior designer, which I did that for 20 years prior to Have Some Fun Today. I got to a point where I got good with knowing who not to work with, what client not to take, because I had many clients who I was like, wow, that was a nightmare. I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to be more discerning in what clients I take because of the burnout level.
Right.
It's like hitting the tennis ball. Do like when it bounces on the ground and it's bouncing up and there's that pause and then you hit it. It sits there for just like a second and then you hit it.
Less than a second.
Well, I don't even remember because it's been a while since I played tennis, but there is that pause when it's just right there. What's it called? What's it called? I don't even, there's like a term for it. That when it hits the ground and it's up there right before you hit it. Is there a term for that?
Well, I'm sure there is. I don't know. We used to I'm laughing because obviously that was a big part of my life, and we used to have to analyze that, like the amount of time, the rotation of the ball, it's millisecond. I mean, it's the slightest amount.
I'm sure, yeah.
It's so when you slow it down and you see exactly what's happening, and we were doing this with super high speed cameras then. It's even way more sophisticated now. Like we would see the rotation of the ball and the fuzz coming off, and we would have to analyze that between this type of a ball and that type of a ball and the type of surface and how fast it came off, like what sat on the court and what didn't sit on the court and how high. You're sorry, you brought me right back to my burnout. So, but
I wasn't at that level, but I used to play tennis and I would hit it better when I let it just for that millisecond, whatever it was, when it got to that right part. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. I was actually in my playing days, when I was an athlete a million trillion years ago, I was actually much better at not taking the time. And any players that knew me, like if they played me, they knew slow it down and he's gonna blow it every time. And I was just the worst thing. If someone just had a sitter for me, I could find a way to hit it so far out it wasn't even funny. But if I didn't have if I was just like in a reactionary mode and I was just like focused on, I knew what I was going to do in this point, I was much harder to beat in that way.
Okay.
So like
Interesting.
overthinking was not a good thing for me. And as an athlete, it's okay.
Yeah.
For other things wasn't the best thing for me as an athlete. But um, yeah, interesting. I mean, I think it's interesting. And look, I think burnout is different for everybody. I mean, there's the general, you can see, oh, that burnout, that burnout, that burnout. You could map that out, scientifically. But I think it is a little different for different people. And I think it's important that people kind of think that through for themselves, and just be conscious of it. And it doesn't mean you're burnt out. Like just because we're saying it doesn't mean you may not be, but I think it's just good to be conscious of like what it is you're doing. Are you leading down that path? And like some of the things we talked about, like making sure you're aligned with things, making sure that, things are in the direction you're trying to go, that your goals are still going in the right direction and that the things you're doing are leading you there. I think that's super important. Um,
Yeah. And also, I would just add that, you know, we have to realize that we have to be operating physically and mentally at a good space. Like if you are probably going to get more burnt out if, you're partying too much, you're not getting enough sleep, you're kind of not managing your time properly. I mean, these are like,
yeah.
to me, they're givens, but, for some people, they're not. And you can't ignore just physical realities.
Do you feel, just kind of to wrap a little bit on this, do you feel that as you have experienced burnout, like let's say where you are right now, do you feel you're able to navigate better? Like even if you're having like, do you think you heal from burnout, like when you've done it? Or do you think it's something that, you don't really totally heal, you learn from it, okay, that one's done. And, like the next one, you're ahead of it more? I think it's like good experience.
Think so. Like
Yeah.
even like right now, as I'm doing these workshops, people have to sign up. So they get announced and then people sign up. And I have put myself now in this headspace that I'm not pushing anything. Like I have spent so many years marketing, trying to get the sale, having the sales and all that other stuff that now like I've decided if it's not going to work, I'm not going to invest myself in it. So I'm more relaxed and I'm letting nature take its course and I'm aligning with the flow of where the energy's going.
Okay.
And that works for me.
And
You
that,
know,
and then you feel you've gotten there because you know what burnout is before, you know what it's like before when you push too hard and it just
and I
doesn't
don't want to
work.
push. I
Yeah.
don't want to push because it's not good for me and it misaligns me with whatever it is I'm doing.
Yeah. And I think in the long run, you'll be more successful with whatever you're doing when you're not pushing it because
Yeah.
it winds properly. It's like you're not trying to put what is it, the round peg into the square hole or whatever.
Yeah. It's like let things come to you a little bit more. And so that's kind of the energy I'm trying to put out there.
Okay. Cool. Well, I think that's great. I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I look, I have to think about that all the time too. Like I do remember those burnout days. I remember what that felt like. And, there are times that I've just got a lot to do. I mean, you have a lot to do and that's all good and no complaints at that. And neither of us really complain about the stuff that we have to do. There's definitely times where like, I feel like too many different things are coming at me and some of them are just not aligned. And I have to kind
Hmm.
of take that little bit of a pause and kind of be like, okay, should I have to do this because we definitely have to make a sale or we definitely have to do whatever. But I'm definitely more conscious of not going there because I don't want to go to that place again. I don't want to. I have too much to do. I think there's people that are relying on me. I mean, just personally, like people that I'm close with. I mean, obviously you, obviously, but I mean, there's people in our immediate circles that are relying on us. Like they want us to do well, or if we do well, they're going to do well because of the effect of what we're working on, both of us. But there's the bigger picture. There's society as a whole. Like some of the things that we're working on are like really to help the world. And I think about that and I have to make sure that I don't burn out because then I'm going to let people down and I don't want to do that. Like
Yeah.
I want that to happen. So, um, it's definitely in my mind for sure. And I do think about that. So, I tell you, I mean, look, we've been doing this for a while, and it's great when people comment and like our posts and stuff like that. It's really cool. It's, we didn't really expect, honestly, from the first episode, we thought, man, maybe we'll get 2 or 3. And now we're on 36. So it's like kind of cool. But I think what would be great, or it would be really great for us and maybe healing for the audience, like if you see anything, if you see this episode or whatever, if you could maybe comment and let us know like what burnout was for you. And how did you navigate that? Did you navigate that? We definitely look at all the comments. We're happy to kind of help if we can in some capacity, but I think it would be healthy. And certainly we would love to hear what you guys have to say. I mean, we're just telling you our thoughts, but obviously this is a team effort here. So
yeah, please let us know what hit for you if you like this episode. We would love to know.
Yeah, and let us know on this topic. Like, jump in on the topic too. Like, what was burnout for you, or did you read the signs, or what did you do afterwards? How did you change yourself? So, yeah, that's kind of our homework for you guys for the week. So, thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. Wherever you're listening to us, on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, whatever works for you guys. Thank you. And we will see you next week on Pickles and Pasta with
Steph
and Jay. I love doing that. You know it's coming, and then you're always like so cute about it. So anyway, thanks for joining, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.